So this is somebody, I guess, who read through it all, and they have this. It's actually pretty long, but I'll go through it. They have this to say. They have about the deal and what Microsoft is saying to the New Zealand Commission of New Zealand. He say here, I finally had the time to read the full notice, 81 pages. That's a lot of pages. That Microsoft sent to the Commerce Commission in New Zealand explaining why the acquisition of Activision Blizzard should be legally fine. Almost all the interesting info is blocked for confidentiality reasons. Yes, of course, for that. For example, there are almost 2 pages of blank space where Microsoft explains the commercial reasons for the acquisition. There are some cool pieces of info behind the legal reasoning. So Microsoft says that they have 24 first-party development studios because they also count Casual Game Suite as one. Developers of Solitaire, Mahjong, and Sudoku. That's actually hilarious because yeah, that does count, but it's those games like Solitaire. I mean, who hasn't played Solitaire on Windows at least once in their life? So we have to update the OT. Tencent is constantly mentioned. They mentioned Tencent 23 times, as well as Sony and how the new PS Plus offerings is a Game Pass competitor. So that's funny because let's say Sony didn't come out with their new PS Plus tiers with extra and premium. They wouldn't have been able to use them as a reason why it's not a monopoly and why there's so much competition out there for what's going on. So that's actually, I mean, them making their extra tiers of subscription kind of works in the favor in a sense for this deal to go through, which is going to go through. I mean, I think there's almost no chance it's not going to go through. Lots of references to new entrants in the video game market: Apple, Netflix, Amazon, Meta, Google, Nvidia, etc. Yeah, I mean, all valid things to mention because they are all going to try to get into gaming in some way. They already are, but like continue to try to expand. You just look at the numbers in the video game industry, the amount of money that's made every single year. All of these big companies want to get a bigger piece of the pie of that. How easy is nowadays to start a studio and create a super successful game, even with just one developer? For example, Flappy Bird is mentioned. They should have mentioned. Well, I don't know if how like the numbers on it, but Tunic literally was like one guy, and he had other people doing like music and stuff. But like literally was one guy, one of the best games of the year. Tunic for me is a game of the year candidate. Valve and Epic are also mentioned quite a bit as competitors post-transaction. Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, and Candy Crush represented 82% of Activision Blizzard's 2021 net revenue. You can bet that those franchises are going to remain multi-platform in the future. Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. 82%. That's insane for how big of a company Activision Blizzard is. 82% in 3 games, and one of them is a mobile game. Call of Duty and World of Warcraft. So yeah, they're not going to remove them off multiple platforms, but the hope, which I would be surprised if they don't do, is they give perks and they give day one releases into Game Pass, because that's all that really matters at the end of the day. If you're somebody out there who's like, I can go buy this game day one, spend, well, what, 60? I think Call of Duty for the cross-gen bundle or whatever was like $70. So I don't know, it could be $70 for this game, or literally sign up to Xbox Game Pass and play it. I mean, to me, for most people, it's going to be a no-brainer. But the kicker as well is going to be where, like, if it's the only game you play, you're probably playing it where your friends are and where all your stats are and everything anyways. But yeah, putting it into Game Pass is going to make a huge difference, and that's what they have to do. The only Japanese publishers mentioned as competitors post-transaction are Nintendo and Bandai Namco. No mention of Sega, Capcom, Konami, Square Enix. So competitors, Nintendo and Bandai Namco, I guess, like, there are rumors out there. People are saying, oh, should they acquire Bandai? Should they get into these partnerships with Bandai? I mean, if they're referencing them as a main competitor as a Japanese publisher, probably is something that's not going to happen. No mention of Sega, Capcom, Konami, Square Enix. In fact, they also include Roblox or CD Projekt Red as competitors. Okay, so CD Projekt Red right now, acquisition of them out the window. It makes economical and legal sense because CD Projekt Red was Europe's most valuable game company in 2020, and Roblox had around 190 million average monthly players in 2021. But I find it funny how, for Microsoft, all those Japanese publishers are just a long tail of smaller competitors. That's just his comments on that. Lots of talk about how online display Advertising, cloud services, and merchandising are also relevant markets for this acquisition, but that they don't believe that the transaction could cause competition problems in those markets. They also say that there is nothing unique about video games developed and published by Activision Blizzard that is a must-have for rival PC and console video game distributors, so that a new competitor could do what they do and be successful. That's true, but not everyone has 3,000 plus developers working on a single IP. Yeah, that's Call of Duty. Anyway, cool document. Let's see if the final decision includes a little bit more of data. So yeah, they're explaining here to the New Zealand Commission why it's not anti-competitive, why it's not a monopoly, all of that type of stuff, why this acquisition is legally okay, why it's going to go through, why it should go through. And I mean, all the things that he mentions here make sense. I mean, you think about specifically here the new entrance into the video game market. Phil Spencer has previously talked about how PlayStation, Nintendo aren't their main competitors anymore. It's Apple, Netflix, Amazon. These companies that have the ability to have the technology to make these huge subscription services with cloud gaming. Because cloud gaming is the future, whether you like it or not. I've always been like on the fence about it, but recently I've really started to take to it because I've been playing Xbox cloud gaming on my Steam Deck, and it's been working flawlessly. So I'm starting to kind of come around and like saying, okay, this is cool. Like if the game looks great, there's no like lag and everything feels great, and I can literally play this on anything. I'm starting to like it more. So cloud gaming is the future, and Apple, Amazon, Google, Netflix, like these are the companies that are going to be able to compete with that. With I think Microsoft is going to be the head though with their Azure technology. So that makes a ton of sense. But the 82% here with Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, and Candy Crush, I think for Microsoft, for Xbox, when they're looking at that, one of the main things they're probably super excited about is the Candy Crush side of things, because they're obviously trying to get into the mobile market more. They're going to have Diablo Immortal as well, which I think has made over 100 million right now. So all of this stuff, nothing really too new or interesting, but just explaining to New Zealand that this isn't anti-competitive. It isn't a monopoly, and we'll see what they say about that going forward for the deal itself.